Welcome to First ebook. This is video 4 of a series of 20 videos aimed at helping young writers to become better writers. In this video I'm going to talk to you about advice that is routinely handed out to young writers, and that is, write about what you know. Well, in my opinion, it's probably the most misleading advice that any writer can get. It builds walls in the writer's mind, imposing artificial limitations bred of uncertainty. How many writers hearing these 4 words have despaired? Those leading quite normal, boring lives no doubt think that nothing of interest happens to them. If they are limited to writing within the parameters of their own lives, then why bother? It's likely that a laundry list would be just as interesting. So how can what you know make an interesting story? Maybe before asking how, we should first ask why. Why, in a world of Star Wars, The Exorcist, and Dracula, are we told to write about what we know? Because none of those stories would have worked if there weren't enough of our real lives in them to make them believable. If there was nothing that the reader or viewer could identify with in those stories, they would not have succeeded. Who has ever experienced a stellar dogfight? Do you think anyone has ever actually seen a girl's head turn around or staked a vampire? Were George Lucas, William Peter Blatty, and Bram Stoker following the advice, write what you know, when they wrote their stories? The answer, of course, is yes. What you know isn't always what you see around you. It's not just a material life you live. You actually know a lot more than that. For instance, you know how you feel when you're afraid. It's this knowledge you draw upon to make your stories believable to others. Your fear of dark places, of the unknown, of pain and death, primal emotions that everyone shares. If it frightens you, it will likely frighten others. Likewise with love, happiness, sadness, anger, the full range of emotions common to all people. You know what prompts those feelings and how you feel when experiencing them. What you think, how you react, and what happens to your body while under the influence of those feelings. This is the knowledge you draw upon to make your stories real for others. Well, you feel more than those emotions. You know how the sun feels on your shoulders, how ice feels in your mouth, how your knees felt when you fell and scraped them as a child. You know what your senses tell you, and other people share those sensations. Tell readers that the paper cuts dumb, and they will immediately know how it feels, and thus what your character feels. Readers will identify with your character. So far, by simply drawing upon what you and everyone else knows, you've created a rapport between the reader and your character. You've identified the stimuli that trigger emotions in you and your readers, and used it to make your setting, your characters, your story come alive. All while sitting in front of a computer in outer suburbia. Okay, now how about giving it a twist? Now that you've got the hang of this write what you know business, you'll realize that which you find yourself experiencing these things don't have to be translated literally to the page. Remember Star Wars? Direct transliteration certainly didn't happen there. So, you take what you know and you give it a twist. Filter it through your imagination before that knowledge hits the page. Don't neglect the other thing you know, and that is the people around you. Yes, Harry's an insurance agent and Madeline is a housewife. What could you possibly find to write about those people? Well, maybe Harry has this nervous habit of tapping a pencil against his teeth while he thinks, and Madeline's whole face changes when she smiles. Suddenly that average everyday housewife is beautiful. These details that make the people you know so familiar to you will also make your characters familiar to your readers. Give one of them your Uncle Bob's staccato chuckle, or your best friend's father's unusual penchant for knitting, and your characters will be remembered much longer than the cliché character who is merely shifty-eyed, or the little old lady who sits in her rocker. These people around you don't have to lend their habits or traits only to contemporary stories, of course. You can use them to make characters in stories set in the past or the future come alive too. Writing a story with a historical setting. You've done your research, another form of knowing, by the way, and now you know all about the physical aspects of your chosen time period. You know what was fashionable, the level of technology, and so on. You've researched more abstract concepts, religious and political ideology perhaps, how governed and by what prominent historical figures. But all of this to people of your time period en masse, as faceless members of an overall society, and your story contains individuals, characters you want the reader to believe in and care about and empathize with. You need to know how a peasant woman 300 years ago felt, how she behaved and what she thought. How do you get inside the heads of people who lived 1,000 years ago and make them real today? Well, again, you know how those around you feel and think and behave. And people are people, no matter where or when. Even if your characters are aliens living in another galaxy, you're going to have to give them traits that humans, your readers, can identify with, so the story will work. No matter when they will live or have lived, all will have experienced love, fear, hate, curiosity, just as you do. So again, take what you know and filter it through your imagination, or through the knowledge gleaned in your research. Your historical characters may believe that their ailments are caused by evil spirits or bad humours, but they will feel the same pain and fear that you do. They will love their families just like you love yours. Now, next time you hear "write what you know," you'll realise that you know an awful lot about what matters in a story's success. It's waiting only to be shaped by your imagination. Okay, that's it. Now you can view some more of our creative writing tutorial videos at FIRSTeBook.co. Thank you.